Please, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for that kind welcome. And Father Swift, thank you for your kind words. And I said to Father Swift as I came up on the stage, the check's in the mail. So, but you're very gracious, and what a joy being with all of you as we celebrate this Spes Gregis dinner, as we celebrate 50 years of a wonderful seminary, Holy Trinity Seminary, as we also celebrate the fact that God has blessed us with these wonderful men who are preparing for the priesthood. My gosh, I have to tell you, they are absolutely impressive. So if we could, once again, thank them for their vocation. So as Father Swift said, in my work in the seminary while I was in Pittsburgh, serving as vice rector of the seminary and then rector of St. Paul's Seminary, I then was asked to be the director of clergy personnel, and then I went to Washington. But I have to tell you a story that when I finished 10 years of working in Washington, D.C., my then bishop, current bishop of Pittsburgh, Bishop Zubik, said, Ed, I'd like you to come back to the diocese. And I said, absolutely, it's about that time. And I, of course, always thought that I was going to get a parish because I'd never, believe it or not, I'd never been a pastor. And so I was always in seminary work or central administration. But it was there that I was preparing to go into the into a parish when Bishop Zubik said, Ed, I need you a little sooner, because I was hoping to take a sabbatical before going into a parish, because once you're in a parish, it's extremely difficult. Well, he said, actually, not only do I need you sooner, I need you now. And I said, really? He goes, I need you to go back to the seminary as the rector. And so he said, and especially with what you've done on the national level, we would be foolish not to tap you, and what the national level gave you is an opportunity to serve well in priestly formation. So I went back to St. Paul's Seminary as director for the second time, and I called my parents and I told them what Bishop Zubik had in mind for me coming back to the Diocese of Pittsburgh after 10 years in Washington, D.C., and I told my parents that Bishop Zubik wanted me to once again be the rector of St. Paul's Seminary, to which my father said, well, Ed, apparently they're going to assign you there until you get it right. I said, thanks. Dads always keep you humble and definitely grounded. So I was and in my heart, I've said this a number of times, my heart has gone out to all of you when you learned that your next bishop was coming from Juneau, Alaska. Juneau, Alaska. Well, in the Diocese of Juneau, we only had 9 priests in the entire diocese. And the diocese, although the smallest diocese, it covered the area of about the size of Florida. And what I knew is that these guys were on islands and villages. They were separated from one another. And the one thing I wanted to do was bind them together. It's important that we as seminarians, as priests, that we bind close to one another. And so I asked if they would join me on a Monday morning conference call, whereby every Monday morning at 8 a.m., we would pray morning prayer together. And at 8 a.m., no matter where they were in the world, actually, one guy was serving the military in Afghanistan, called from Afghanistan, Nigeria, called from Rome, Ireland, all over the world. 8 o'clock Juneau, Alaska time, the guys would call. And whenever they would call, they would have the fraternal moments. Hey, what are you doing, you slacker? And back and forth. But about 8:15, we would begin, Oh God, come to my assistance. And we would pray morning prayer together. Bishop Kelly, it was an honor for me to have Bishop Kelly and Bill Keffler come to Juneau, Alaska before I arrived here in the Diocese of Dallas to really catch a glimpse of the diocese and all that it was about. And they had the opportunity of having all the priests of the diocese sit around my dining room table. And it was a great opportunity to really see the fraternal support that we had one for another. Ultimately, binding ourselves close so that we could ultimately serve the people of God. The Diocese of Juneau, about 10,000 souls. 10,000 souls. That is about the size of St. Rita Parish, probably smaller than St. Rita's Parish. St. Rita's Parish, Father Josh is here. So 10,000 souls. You can just imagine one parish, but having 9 parochial vicars, all right? You can imagine having 9 priests working in that parish. What that translates into is that the Diocese of Juneau has nationwide the best priest-parishioner ratio in the country. It has the best priest-parishioner ratio in the country. Well, I come to Dallas, and I have to tell you, I've been so struck by the wonderful people here who are so proud to be Catholic, who are so joyful, and also so very generous with their faith. I recognize that we have a couple hundred priests, and yet we have 1.3 million people in this diocese of Dallas and North Texas. Translate that, this is one of the worst priest-parishioner ratios in the country. What I mean to say is that all the men who are present here, we need you. And there's a lot of work for you. We are so grateful that God has called you because we want to support you in your priestly vocation. I'm mindful of the fact, too, that in the history of this diocese, life has not been easy. I mentioned a little bit this morning when I gave the address at the Dallas Ministry Conference that there were some very dark days in this diocese when the media definitely promoted the awful scandal within the church, recognizing that the church had to take some significant steps in order to rectify, in particular, safe environment. And as Father Swift says, I serve as the chair of the Bishop's Committee on Child and Youth Protection. And we recognize that the men who are in seminary formation now, they weren't part of the problem, but they sure want to be a part of the solution on how to restore trust and rebuild credibility within the church. I'm so grateful because the men that we have in our seminary program, as Father Swift said, are going through an extensive program, especially for human formation, to assure that they possess a psychosocial, sexual maturity, and that in that recognize a wholesomeness, a sense of knowing themselves in answering God's call in serving the people. I'm so grateful because there was a day that there were only 13 seminarians for the Diocese of Dallas, from freshman year of college all the way up through to the diaconate and ordination to priesthood. Only 13 men in those years. Today, in this year, we welcome 20 new men into the priestly formation program for the Diocese of Dallas, and we have close to 80 men studying for the priesthood for the Diocese of Dallas. I'm so I am so pleased with the priest of this diocese. We had a wonderful convocation of the priest of this diocese where I had the opportunity to thank them for their steadfastness during those years when they saw the caller on the evening news repeatedly, that they stayed strong. I said to them, I truly believe it's because of your steadfastness, your dedication and your commitment, your resolve to stay steady, that it's because of you that the people of this diocese are so proud to be Catholic. I am so proud of the priest of this diocese, good, holy men. It is in this diocese that we have two rectors. There is the rector of our cathedral of Our Lady of Guadalupe, Father Stephen Biershank, who is present here tonight and does a wonderful job at our cathedral. Please, by all means, ask him when the scaffolding is coming down. But the transformation that we look forward to in that cathedral is going to be an image of the transformation of the very root of the Catholic faith in this wonderful diocese. And the other rector of this diocese is the rector of the seminary, Father Jim Swift, who does an excellent job for our seminarians, for the diocese, and for other dioceses. The reason why they're rectors is because the bishop has a particular role in both of those institutions, the cathedral and the seminary. I personally am so proud of Father Biershank and Father Swift for all the good work that they're doing. Looking at the seminary, I am ecstatic by the quality of men. I said to the board recently, when we met at the seminary, you can always tell the spirit of the seminary by when you walk in. The men who we have demonstrated a level of hospitality and outgoingness and a witness to Jesus Christ just through the way in which they engage with everyone. I'm proud to see that because it's true. In my years at the Bishops' Conference, I assisted with the rewriting of the program of priestly formation, and I was staff to the apostolic visitation of all seminaries in this country. It is ironic for me that I stand before you now as the bishop of the Diocese of Dallas, and yet I'm blessed, I'm humbled, and I'm honored to be your shepherd, to be the bishop of this diocese. And I stand before you this night to tell you, I know personally that Holy Trinity Seminary received a wonderful report through the apostolic visitation of seminaries in this United States. In the document that oversees seminary formation, it's entitled Pastores Double Grobis. Pastores Double Grobis is that document that helps form the program of priestly formation nationally and also on the local level. In it, it states, in its deepest identity, the seminary is called to be, in its own way, a continuation in the church of the apostolic community gathered around Jesus, listening to his word, proceeding toward the Easter experience, awaiting the gift of the Spirit for the mission. Such an identity constitutes the normative ideal which stimulates the seminary in the many diverse forms and varied aspects which it assumes historically as a human institution, to find a concrete realization faithful to the gospel values, from which it takes its inspiration and able to respond to the situation and needs of the time. The seminary is, in itself, an original experience of the church's life. In it, the bishop is present through the ministry of the rector and the service of co-responsibility and communion fostered by him with the other teachers for the sake of the pastoral and apostolic growth of the students. The various members of the seminary community, gathered by the Spirit into a single brotherhood, cooperate, each according to his own gift, in the growth of all in faith and charity, so that they may prepare suitably for the priesthood, and so prolong in the church and in history the saving presence of Jesus Christ, the Good Shepherd. My friends, it is a joy to see the number of men that we have at Holy Trinity Seminary from our diocese and other sponsoring dioceses. It is a joy to walk through the doors of that seminary, and I'm ever so proud that our seminary is growing. All these years, we have been praying to the Lord of the harvest to send us laborers. And now our God is giving us laborers. Woe to us if we do not provide for them. That knowing that we have called God's name to ask him to bless us with priestly vocations. My friends, now is the time. Now is the time for us to respond, because our God has answered our prayers. It is my desire to ask for your support, to be generous with our seminary, ultimately knowing that in such generosity do we play a part in God's divine plan. God bless us. God bless wonderful dioceses that are present at Holy Trinity Seminary, and God bless the good men who find themselves today as seminarians of Holy Trinity Seminary. Thank you very much.